Now we're going to back up a moment, back to develop concern. Part of developing concern is helping people change their perception of risk. Risk perception is predictive of behavior change. So if I perceive risk for something, I'm much more likely to change my behavior. And if I don't perceive risk for something, I'm probably not going to change my behavior. An incredible example of this is the changes people made for COVID. Quite quickly, many of us developed concern and risk perception skyrocketed. And the changes we made individually, perhaps, as a society, as a whole, those changes were immense. The higher the risk perception is, the more likely we'll change behaviors. Thinking about it from the perspective of alcohol or drug use, take marijuana for example. A lot of people think it's no big deal. It's harmless, it's benign. So if I have that kind of perception of risk associated with marijuana, it's not likely to create any problems in my life, I might think, then I'm more likely to use it because my perception of risk is low. So what we want to do in Prime for Life, indeed a major goal of this program, is increase risk perception around alcohol and drugs. Now, the idea here isn't that we're just increasing risk perception to scare people or something like that. We're increasing risk perception so people can simply say, yes, it's possible that problems with alcohol and drugs could happen to me. We want people's perception of risk to be accurate with the level of risk they might have. So it's fascinating to think, people might make some choices in their life that are very protective of their values. For instance, maybe I always wear my seatbelt and I never text and drive. Yet, also, I make high-risk choices around alcohol and drugs that could jeopardize those same values. Like maybe I drink an entire bottle of wine 3 times a week. And it could be that I accurately perceive risk regarding seatbelts and texting and inaccurately perceive risk for problems with alcohol and drugs. Also, when we look closer at risk perception, we start to see there's actually 2 kinds. The perception of risk we see for ourselves and the perception of risk we see for everyone else. So let's illustrate this real quick. I want you to think on a scale of 1 to 10. How risky is it? 1 being not risky at all and 10 being very, very risky. How risky is it for other people to drive fast? Whatever drive fast means to you, how risky is it for other people to drive fast on a scale of 1 to 10? So you got a number in your head? Okay, good. Now, same scale, 1 not risky, 10 very risky. How risky is it for you to drive fast? Whatever drive fast means, how risky is it for you to drive fast? Typically, what we find here is that most people give a higher number to who? Right, to other people. Exactly. Most people think it's riskier for other people to drive fast than it is for themselves to drive fast. And that's the difference between general risk perception and personal risk perception or individual risk perception. I think other people have the risk, but not me. So here's something interesting. Researchers have looked at risk perception for a lot of different behaviors. And that gap, the number between the number I give to other people and the number I give to myself, that gap is actually showing us how much control we think we have over the risk for any particular behavior. And that gap between individual and general risk perception for alcohol is among the largest gap of any behavior measured. Most people see more risk for other people than they do for themselves when it comes to drinking and drug choices. And in Prime for Life, we want to change that. So you're going to see how we do that in the program as you go through the first unit.